Welcome to the Create the Life You Want podcast, where we break down the journey of people just like you going from dream to ownership in business acquisitions, franchises, and startups. I'm your host, Jeremy Ames. Today's episode is brought to you ad-free by Guidant Financial. Guidant is America's leading company helping aspiring entrepreneurs use retirement funds to buy or start businesses. If you're committed to buying or starting a business, you can find out more about your funding options by going to www.guidantfinancial.com. That's Guidant financial.com. Now, let's get started with the show. Spiro, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your story. I have a small heads up that you used to be almost the definition of the corporate man because you worked for the IBM, which is maybe the most well-known corporate company in the last 75 years. So maybe we could start off, Spiro. Tell us a little bit about your pre-business owner story. Where did you come from and how did you ultimately end up, or when did you even get the first inkling that you might want to start a business at some point?
Well, actually, grew up in Pittsburgh, and my father had a restaurant. So I grew starting from 14 years old. It was working in a restaurant. So the desire to always work for myself or my family was always there from the beginning. But being that the restaurant business is kind of difficult, and my dad had it took him like what was it, like 10 years to get to have his first vacation. He just said, no, get out of here. Just go get your graduate. Make sure you go to college. Make sure you get a master's degrees and just get out of here. So I did. I saw how hard he worked. So back in my head, I didn't want to work that hard. Then I did get a master's degree and then a few jobs, but I landed with FedEx for a while, for about 14 years, and on the sales side, and kind of grew to the level of global account manager, so which is the highest sales position, and managing uh, the accounts of like BMW and Sharp, and on a global basis. And then after I got married, this was in New York. So after I got married in New York, and then we had our first kid, my wife wanted to move to Florida because that's where her family is.
Okay.
And we neither one of us from New York, so I'm like, okay, well, we don't really have any ties to New York other than job. I asked FedEx if I could live in Florida because I just fly all the time anyway, so I could fly. I'm right by the airport there. They said no, they want us up in New York, and I said, well, okay. That's when I found the IBM, and they hired me pretty quickly. Moved us down to Florida because they were based out of Boca, and after 3 years, a pretty good 3 years, but then they decided to downsize. IBM was saving costs here and there. They downsized 10% of their sales force, and I was included in that. So now I'm looking around. What am I going to do? So I'm just interviewing, and every interview I'm looking at is like you're talking Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and from where we live, that's like, I mean, I could be commuting anywhere from 2 to 4 hours in a day, and I'm like it
Wow.
wasn't
Yikes.
unappealing. So that's when I like, well, wait a minute. In the back of my head was always working for myself. So I said, look, let me look at this, and IBM had a really great severance package, and included that was in training, and part of the training was starting your own business. Like they had a franchise a course, so I was learning about all these franchises, and all of them was like, okay, you work really really hard and give us half your money. And I'm like, well, no, no, I'll work really really hard, but I want to keep all my money.
Yep.
And then FedEx, it was out of the blue. FedEx calls me up and says, "We want to buy your pension out."
Say more about
And
that. What does that mean? Because you were going to get some benefit at some point in the future?
right, so I was one of the last hiring class at FedEx that actually got a pension.
Oh,
After
wow.
after my class, they pensions just like disappeared. No one got
Yeah, they
pensions.
only exist with government anymore.
Right. But FedEx had a pension at that time. So when I was about to leave FedEx, I was eligible and made enough money to retire. In addition to Social Security, in addition to the government, I would retire after 65. I would get $900 a month from FedEx for life.
Okay.
because that's what I was able to bring in, right?
Yep.
But then they come to me and say, "Well, what if we gave you like $1.50 cash, and then we leave us alone, and we're out," because they save a lot more money.
Yeah. So were they offering you 150,000 in straight cash that you would then have to pay taxes on, or were they saying they'd put it in a retirement plan or
They would put that into a 401k,
got it?
into my 401k personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't cash, but they would put it into my 401k. But eventually I would pay taxes on it.
Yep.
However, it's still money that I didn't have, and I would
Yep.
have it all up front. But then I'm looking into, well, what can I do with this money, even though it's in a retirement? And that's when I had a friend that was an accountant that said there is a program that you could roll over retirement into a capital campaign to start up a business.
Yep.
What is it? Rolf? Rolf.
Rollovers for business startups. Yep.
Yes. So then and then the restriction was you can only start it with Bank of America or another big bank. There was the only two banks that could do it. And so I started with Bank of America and then with Guidant, and then we were able to use those funds to start up the company. So right now, that 401k that FedEx gave me technically owns my company.
That's awesome.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you rolled those funds into your four. Well, actually, technically, it's your 401k. So they gave you money, so they're off the hook for you. Now it's in a 401k plan. You turn that into your 401k, owning a good portion of this company that you started.
Correct. Correct.
And tell us about that. So you find out that you can use retirement funds, and this sort of opens the door for how you can capitalize a business. But how did you even figure out what to do
In terms of the starting a
in terms of
business,
the
or
business? Yeah, what ideas did you look at or think about, and then how did you ultimately land on the thing that you did?
okay. So in that course that IBM had, we were looking at, um, I mean, anything that you could think of. There was a pressure washing company. There was, and these are kind of not just local. These are bigger companies.
Yep.
One was a water restoration company that was national, and I said, okay, well that at least has some credence to it, and a lot of those people do make some money. But it was still, at the end, any of them, you'd have to do all this work, and then you'd have to give them half your money for royalties and all your
Yep.
fees and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, that doesn't appeal to me. So then I found out about Chick-fil-A has a really low investment to start off. I mean, not like next to nothing. McDonald's, you need at least 1 million in the bank to start with
Yeah.
McDonald's, and then I think at the time Chick-fil-A was like something like $10,000 or $15,000, and then they do the rest. But then you run it. Then looking more into it, you run it, but you don't own it, and then you're just
Yeah.
basically a manager. And then you'd have to qualify and go through all these hoops, and I did. I made it all the way to the final, but the final, I didn't make the cut at the end. So here I am interviewing for all these different positions and thinking, well, I still want to do my own thing. And I'm sitting on the couch. I have two little kids, both, and a dog, all three in diapers. And my wife says, we have these bins. They're like trash cans and recycling bins. You roll out to the curb for collection twice a week.
Yep.
And so we bought a house, and they came with the house, and they were filthy. And my wife says, hey, can you clean them? They're really, I mean, it's not like you're doing a lot. Can you just clean these things? They're really filthy. And I looked in them and I said, absolutely no way. I'm not touching these things. They were disgusting. So then I'm looking online. I'm saying, does anyone clean these things? And I did find a company out of Miami, which is about an hour away, that actually does clean them. And I called them up and I talked to them and I said, look, this is what we're starting. We do this, but we're not coming. We're not driving an hour to clean for $10, to clean a bin. But he had the same exact background that I had, master's degrees, say, corporate America, and he got laid off too. So he started this business while he was laid off. And he says, and he knows my area very, very well. In fact, they were going to move up here. He says, I'm going to, if I teach you what I do, and then you do a little market research in your own area and see if you're interested. If you are, I'll build you a truck that you need. So what they do is they this truck that he builds pulls up to the house. You put the bins inside the truck, and it cleans it for you, and it sanitizes it, and then you dry it down and put it back in front of the
It's
customer's
like a car
house.
wash for your trash bins.
Absolutely, absolutely is.
Oh, brilliant.
And I did. I stood out with a little clipboard out in front of the supermarket. Ours is called Publix, and I'm taking surveys in here, and they're like, if we come to your house and clean your bin for $10 a month, would you be interested in that? He goes, ooh. And sometimes I had to explain a little bit more, and they're like, you're kidding, right? You come to the house, we do nothing. I said, you absolutely do nothing. We clean it on the day of your pickup. We clean it, put it back for you, and then you pay us $10 for each bin. And they're
Yeah.
like, I had 60 customers in like a week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I took now, given granted, they all signed up. So I took the fact that I have 60 customers, and then I went back to the guy in Miami and I said, okay, build me a truck. So he built me a truck, and I started working myself. I would be networking in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I would go take care of those 60 customers. And every neighborhood that I would do a stop, we'd put little cards on other people's bins, tie it to a rubber band so it couldn't come off. And as you're pushing your bin back to your garage and you know it's filthy, but then here's your solution right on top of it. They're like, we in about 2 years we got about 1,000 customers.
That's fantastic.
And but we couldn't do any of that without the assistance of the 401k and the rollover, because we use that money to purchase the truck.
The truck, which is the key thing. So this guy's motivation in teaching you this business, it was just sort of happenstance. You called to get your bin cleaned. He says, I'm not driving out there an hour for $10, but somehow he builds these things and makes a margin off creating the trucks now.
Oh, not a small margin too. He's sold, and I keep going there for repairs, right?
Yeah.
So I was there yesterday, and he's sold 800 trucks after me.
Holy
I was
cow. So
like,
he's doing this in other markets. He's not really franchising. He's just using it as a way to distribute trucks.
yes, he's created out of the 800, because many of us have multiple trucks.
Yep.
There's about, I mean, a handful, not a ton, because, but you figure, I mean, that's almost 750 different companies throughout the country that's doing this industry.
Yeah. And tell me about this truck. He's modifying clearly some kind of existing vehicle, right?
He recommends get a brand new truck. They add a flatbed to it. Then they install all the framing around it. It's all fabricated, custom order, how big you want it, how big you want to grow. I went for growth instead of just, because you could get a small trailer if you just want to do limited, but I built for growth, and it was still too small because I outgrew that one in a year.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so they customize this truck for your needs, and then you go down. It's completely wrapped and everything. You have your whole walking. It's a driving billboard for your business, and
Yeah.
everywhere you drive around, everybody's like, "What the hell is that?" Oh, the description's right on the truck, so you kind of, with one glance, you kind of know what they're doing, and their numbers blasted all over it. So we got a lot of customers just from driving around, whether we were
So
doing it or not.
you bought the truck from just a normal dealer and then you paid him to do the aftermarket upgrades to turn it into this car wash for bins.
Yes, but now the guy that I bought the truck, who did the truck for me, now he kind of has a deal with the truck company. So he's a one-stop shop now.
Oh, so we can do
So
them
you
all.
go to
Oh,
him,
that's great.
he gets you the truck, he wraps it for you, he builds it custom to your needs, and then when you go down, he trains you how to do it. If you want add-ons, they'll do a whole website for you. I mean, it's all these different things he's grown to do. But at the beginning, when I was there, it was just, okay, let's get a truck. We'll make it work for you, and then we'll train you, and off you go. But now it's like this whole huge thing he's got going, and it's amazing.
So do you think if you would have made it through the final interview for Chick-fil-A that you'd be a Chick-fil-A manager right now?
Regretfully, yes.
Got it. So it was almost fortunate.
I think things do happen for a reason. I mean, why else would I get a call from FedEx to buy me out, buy my pension out when I'm in desperate need and no job? I mean,
Were
just the
you
timing
yeah.
is just, I don't know.
Were
I
you
don't get it.
seriously considering a business up until at that point, or did the access to the retirement funds actually change the equation for you in terms of moving forward?
That thought was always in the back of my mind. I would always want to have my own
Yeah,
business, but what? What kind of business? I didn't want to have a franchise where I gave away half the wealth. So, can I think of something myself? I don't know. I guess I'm not that smart, but as soon as my wife asked me to do something, it's like the mother of necessity
yeah.
for invention, and she wants me to clean them, and I don't, and here I am. Now we have 2,200 customers in our
Does she
seventh
give
year.
you? Do you have to give her props often for her generation of this business off your honey-do list?
Well, she's invested in it as well. So part of the deal was we had to have her father's approval of it because he was a CEO of Scholastic, so he's no
Okay.
dummy either. And he said I need to see a business plan. So I put one together, and here's she's thinking there's no way my dad's going to go for this. I mean, garbage cans? Who's going to clean garbage cans? I showed him the business plan. He didn't even care about what the actual concept was. He cared about how thorough the plan was, and he was like, "Oh, absolutely." And he goes, "How many people are doing this?" I said, "There's one other company in Florida, and there might be one in California." He says, "So you're new to market?" I said, "Yes." And there's no competition, zero. And you have a deal with this manufacturer who's going to make the truck. Anytime he makes a truck, there's like a no compete clause that he will never sell a truck to someone in my area. So I'll never compete with anybody.
Yeah.
I
So how
mean, my
much?
competition is you not wanting to do it. That's
Yeah.
my competition.
What is the? Tell us a little bit more about that non-compete clause. How much of a geography does that cover? Was that something that you generated because you pushed back when he said, "I'll sell you this truck and do this thing"? Like, tell me the generation
No,
of
he
that.
kind of understands the area and the market, and he's a really fair guy, and he wants to be good to um, uh, all his customers that he's selling a truck because you're not buying a truck for $1,000. You're buying $150,000 truck.
Yeah.
So he wants every company to succeed, and the more you succeed, the more chances you're gonna one recommend his business to somebody else,
Yep.
two buy a second truck from him again. So I have three trucks from him now, and anytime a customer even hints that they're interested that go to him directly, he asked me, "Hey, can you talk to this customer?" I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
So he always gives me a little bit of discount. Keep in mind, I was like his second customer in Florida ever building a
Yeah.
truck.
So what are your expansion plans from here? You've got three trucks. How much of a geography are you covering right now?
Right now, we cover Coral Springs, Florida, Parkland, Florida, and Coconut Creek, Florida for residential.
Okay.
On a commercial, one of the trucks that we have is a commercial truck, so it does the dumpsters that like if you picture waste management going in and picking up a dumpster
Yeah.
for a restaurant or apartment building. So we got a truck that actually cleans the dumpsters with the same exact technology, same premise. It's just a
Those
lot
are
bigger truck.
those are huge. Did you have to get a like a semi truck?
It's a bigger truck. Yep,
Yeah.
it is not a
But
semi. No,
not a
because I
semi.
mean it's not. We're not hauling the trash. All we have to do is have a truck that has enough weight balance to pick up the dumpster, and while you're parked, you're cleaning the inside of the dumpster, and it
Yeah.
falls into the truck, and then you put the dumpster back down. I mean, I mean, it works great.
Interesting. And so what are the future plans you have, Spiro? You cover those three areas, residential and commercial. Now what?
One of our trucks, as I mentioned, one is commercial, one is residential. My second residential is a city truck. So we were the first company in the whole country to have a city contract to do the whole entire city. And
Say more about
now,
that.
so when we first started, and I was doing my networking calls in the morning, and I go to I was member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I go to the breakfast, and I'm sitting next to, I met the divisional manager for Waste Pro, one of the haulers here. Next one, I'll meet the mayor of Coconut Creek and some of the commissioners, and so we build a relationship. And I started sorting. We were servicing Coconut Creek anyway. We had customers there, and they were very interested in the service. They're like, what exact? When I explain what we do, and I looked up. Coconut Creek happens to be a very green city. They're very environmentally friendly. They're conscious about the environment and about a lot of the rules that a lot of people don't know, especially in Florida. In Florida, we're sea level, so we don't have sewer systems. We have our drains in the street. They're storm drains. Any water that goes in there just goes funnels into the local canal, lake, whatever water
Yep.
body of water is nearby. So it's not a sewer system like up north. So one of the laws that a lot of people don't know is you're not allowed to dump anything that could be close to a chemical. You're not even
Toxic. Yeah.
supposed to wash your car in your driveway because all that suds and that stuff is going into the storm drain.
Yeah.
So, so in a meeting with Coconut Creek, and I'm explaining to them, even your customers to clean their bins, uh, and this is our competition. Our competitor is your resident in Coconut Creek pouring bleach into their bin and then dumping it out into the street.
Yep.
They're like, "Oh, no way would we have any." Our residents know we don't stand for that in our city, and it was just again, things happen for a reason. But one of the persons inside that meeting started raising their hand like, "I didn't know it was wrong."
So he's saying, I do this.
they, I said they didn't believe. They didn't believe. I knew for a fact they were doing it because customers would tell me, "I'm here. I'm cleaning their neighbors' bins, right? Because I'm doing the work at the beginning.
Yep.
So I'm cleaning a neighbor's bins, and the neighbor goes to me, what? Who paid money for that? I clean it myself. I just pour bleach into it." And I said, "Oh yeah, what do you do with the bleach after?" "Well, I just dump it out. I just dump it in the street." I'm like, "Oh, really? Do you know that's illegal?" And I'm like, "Well, who's going to give me a ticket?" Correct. There's no police running
Yeah.
around. But it's also wrong, though. You're pouring a bleach into a storm drain that goes into the canal. Now there's life in there, and you're pouring bleach in there. So it is wrong. And I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest environmentalist, but I still think we should do our part and help. I don't think we should hurt it. I think we should do our part to help.
Yep.
So when this person in the meeting admitted that they do the same exact thing, so the city reps said, "Oh no, we're not harming our standing as an environmental green city. They're a silver city. There's a standing how good they are with the environment. I think it's a silver award or something. So all the buildings and everything. So and they're proud of that, and they should be. So when they found out that their residents are pouring bleach into the street, they said, "No, we're going to take that out of your hands. We believe that they should be clean
Yep.
because they provide the bins for each house, but the homeowner is responsible for cleaning them or maintaining them unless they're damaged."
Yep.
So they said, "Well, we're going to prevent you from pouring bleach into that and harming the environment, and we're going to hire the bin doctor." Or no, you know what? I take it back. They just said we're going to put it out for bid with the next hauling bid. So they put out a bid for new waste hauler for Waste Management, Republic, Waste Pro, any hauler that's going to take over the city. One of the components that say we need every to be cleaned once or twice a year.
Yep.
That's going to be in the proposal. And knowing that I was the one that encouraged that to happen, I went to all the haulers and I said,
I'll do it.
um, well, basically, yeah. I said, just to let you know, this is one of the components in your new bid that you're going to put out there. And they didn't know this existed. They didn't know anything about this. So I educated them, and to let them know I was the one and the reason why it's on the bid. So I didn't have to tell them you should use me. If I'm the reason why it's on the bid, well, why wouldn't you use me?
Yeah.
So I put in a bid for each of the haulers, and then so whoever the city picked as their hauler had to
You were
use
going to
me.
win. Yeah.
I was going to win. I was
It's
in a
brilliant.
no lose situation.
That's
So
brilliant. And so the city basically subsidized all these customers for you. They just said, we're going to make it a requirement built in. And now all of a sudden you have, how many customers did you get from that overnight?
80, 8760, 8,760.
You said you had 2,000. I guess so that's how many you do each month, 2,200.
2,000 is my customers without the city.
Got it. So this is just on
Then
top
we
of
do
that.
the city. Yeah.
So what city's up next, Spiro?
So we have a bid in for Tamarack that's also next door, and that's through another hauler. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with government contracts. If you were to bid with a city directly, they have to get a minimum of 3 bids.
Okay.
If you bid with a city indirectly, you don't have to have any bids. So technically, the city doesn't pay us directly; the hauler pays
Yeah, it's
us,
the hauler. So as
and
long as they
we're
have three hauler bids, you're good. And you're on all of
yeah,
them.
that's right. I'm in all of them.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do the same thing with Tamarack. So if I get a second city, I'll need another truck, some more employees, and you're talking another 8,000 homes.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I have my
So
moments of, of brilliance.
of falling into some good ideas. I love it. I'm curious to take a step back because you talked about getting on the phone with this gentleman who said, "Hey, might you be interested in this?" And then you fast forwarded a little bit to taking a survey of people. So walk us through what you did because I think that represents you going out and saying, "Hey, I want to find that I have a market for this before I
Mhm.
decide to make this investment." So walk us through how you thought about it and then what you did to verify that product market fit.
100%. So when he said he's not going to come up to Coral Springs for $10, and coupled with the fact that I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me anyway, growing up in a restaurant, so that never leaves you. And then also when you work for, I, you, I don't want to throw IBM under the bus, but there's some really really smart people at IBM,
Yeah.
right? But they might not necessarily be able to talk to another human being. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The
So
people
my
not on the sales
job,
team. I hear you.
so my job was a relationship manager. I got the techies that don't even look up and can't look anybody in the eye. I get them in through the door because they believe and trust me. So they know that we're going to solve their problem. So we're going to bring here some really smart people. We're going to come in and help your problem. So when I have a problem, and now the guy in Miami, he when he told me what they do, I'm like, okay, here's a chance that I could start a business. I don't have to be a franchise. I don't have to pay anybody. I have costs. You have your startup costs. You have your overhead that you're going to have. Just as if you're going to have a brick and mortar, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to have your startup costs, and you're going to have your monthly maintenance stuff that you're going to have to be responsible for. It's no
Yep.
different. The only difference is I don't have brick and mortar, but I have trucks. It's kind of the same thing uh, financially. So if he's telling me that I could start my own business and I don't have to franchise, now it's up to me though to see if there's a market for it. And when I went to analyze our city here, every house there's around 34,000 homes in Coral Springs. Each
Okay.
home has 2 bins. That's a huge market.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not going to get them all, but you don't have to. So when if I go out there and I interview people and see if this is something they'd be interested in, I mean, when you have 60 customers in such a short period of time, just from an explanation outside a grocery store that they did an unsolicited call,
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's
everyone's
what you
weary
did.
when you come.
You went the Girl Scout cookie route. You stood outside of the grocery store with a clipboard and started interviewing people.
I sat right next to those girls. I bought a couple boxes of cookies, and I said, "Can I stand right next to you? And after you're done, I'll even help you sell." So my daughters, I have to sell for my daughter too. So it never ends. But yeah, I just sit there with a clipboard and explain what we did, and they're like, "This is crazy. I've never heard of this before." I said, "Because it hasn't existed before." But now the industry itself was invented in England, so it does.
Huh.
It's not a brand new industry. It's just brand
Yeah,
new here.
got it. And
And
so now he's
and the
sold.
way he built the trucks is brand new too. He really made these special that no one else builds them this way.
Yeah, what a genius idea. So what's the long-term goal for you, Spiro? How long are you going to be doing this, and what are you trying to build toward?
So that's a good question. It's kind of a moving goal.
Moving target,
I
yeah.
would like to have another city because that's really it's great recurring money, and that would require more extra funding, another truck. Uh, I'd like to expand on the commercial because the profit margins on the commercial are almost double.
Oh wow.
That I'd like to expand on that. I when I want to say 2 years ago, I the commercial truck was maybe utilized half as much, like half the month, and I was still making almost as much money as I was on the residential route.
Oh
So
wow. So now it's a
not the,
utilization
not the
play.
city route, not the city route, but
Yep.
the homeowners that we deal directly with the homeowner. I yeah. Now it's almost. I would say there may be 5 days a month that we're still open, that we still have room. So
Yeah.
once those days are full, then I might have to look into getting another truck.
And so with the trucks, are you paying 100% cash for this? Is there any portion that you're financing? How does that all work?
Okay, so the first truck that I bought from Florida, from it's in Doral, the first truck I bought, they helped us secure some financing for it. But being a
Okay.
brand new business, a brand new industry, my interest rate was like 20%.
Oh wow. That's credit card rates.
It is. So as soon as I got a year under my belt, I refinanced that. I refinanced it. I might have refinanced it twice because I got it down to four.
How much were you able to finance of it? Like what percentage of the total value?
The first truck, because it was his first one that's selling to me, so
Yep.
I think I bought the first truck for only $96,000.
Okay.
So I think I only had to put 20% down.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, that's fine. And I used the funds from the rollover
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah, and the first truck, it's already paid off. Now I have two other trucks that have 2 more years left over them on.
Got it. And it sounds like the cost of the trucks has gone up. Has the financing changed at all in the corresponding years? Are you able to get better rates or better percentage LTVs?
I was 2 years ago. I was able to get better interest rates. Now the rates have kind of escalated again. Not back
Yeah.
to the 20%. I mean, the 20%, to be fair, is because it was a brand new industry, a brand new company. I had no, not bad credit, but just no credit.
Yeah.
So that's why they ding you with 20%. But now I'm established. Now I have funds in reserve. I'm not going to get 20% again, but it's not going to be four either. So we're probably looking. The next truck will probably be between 7 and 8%.
Okay. But I mean, if it pays for itself, then
It does pay for itself. It does. Yeah, it doesn't make good business sense to use all your capital to pay off a truck when it's just a month, another monthly expense. I'm not paying brick and mortar. I don't have rent.
yep.
Um, so why would I use my money to? You always use somebody else's money.
Yeah. I'm curious because You did an element of due diligence in trying to make sure that you had market fit with customers in your area. What kind of due diligence did you do on this gentleman and his trucks? Or did you just sort of go
So I
with a
went to
leap of
visit.
faith?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, good point. I went to visit him. He had a little shop in Doral, Florida. I went to his house and met his family. I sat at his dining room table with he and his wife, and just I don't know. You get a sense of someone when they kind of take you in like that. It's a different kind of sale. I mean, he was not trying to oversell. Um, it, I mean, I don't know. I did believe in him, and he was doing it too. He had two trucks, so he
Yeah.
was doing it too. And um, all I had to trust, all I had to trust him with was that he was going to build me a truck. I already agreed on a rate, a price for it. Um, the harder part was on me. Am I going to build this to the point where now I don't have to do it anymore? Someone else now I have to build it so I can hire somebody, and because I mean I wasn't that young at the time. I was 50. I was in my 50s. In fact, that's why they laid me off at IBM. I think they laid off everyone over 50.
Yeah.
Is that a lawsuit? Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, right. But so I didn't have the opportunity. I couldn't fail. I can't let it fail. So there was no there's no choice about that. So I had to make it work. So I just
Yeah.
busted my ass for 2 years. I worked day and night. I mean, just to sheer exhaustion. But then it paid off. I mean, now I just sit back and run the company.
Yeah. It's interesting, Spiro, as I hear you describe your story, it's almost as if you perfectly aligned the business you started with your skill set. You come from a sales background, right? So your whole thing is explaining things to people that they may not totally understand or have even thought of as a solution to their problem. And then you're going out and networking to find this. Did you sort of intentionally think about that? Was that a something that crossed your mind when you were in the early stages of evaluating this opportunity, or do you feel like you just kind of fell into something that was a fit for what you could drive value in?
I mean, the the actual industry itself was just. I mean, that was just luck. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
know it would be that kind of industry. However, it didn't matter what I would start up. I would still have to go out and sell it.
Yep.
I mean, there's no way around that. And who better to sell your company than yourself? Um, like I mean, how many companies did I work for? And I represented them, and I went out and sold for them, and I did quite well. But it wasn't. I didn't own FedEx. I didn't own IBM, but I did quite well representing them and selling them. But now here's a company that I own, that I fully believe in, and I stand behind 100%.
Yeah.
It definitely within my wheelhouse.
Well, it's easy to sell because you admitted, I don't want to clean that bin. So,
Oh hell no, hell no. But I did 2 years. I did it. I lost so much weight. I fit back into my tuxedo when I was got married.
well, Spiro, I want to ask you this question. Having now been a business owner for multiple years, how is life different for you now than it was when you were working in corporate America? Like, compare and contrast for me what this looks like from a stress level, a time investment, personal fulfillment. Help me understand where you sit today versus where you were before.
Wow, what a great question. So there was when I worked for IBM, because even though I was just a relationship manager, and that is in my wheelhouse. However, I was selling something I had no clue about. I'm not a tech person. I don't know. I don't understand a lot of that. And they were like, that's not why we hired you. That's not your job. Your job is to get us in the door. So I did that well, but it's still, for me to really sell something, I really still need to know what I'm selling and understand it. So I wasn't, my stress level at IBM was quite high, and the training was intense, and it was very stressful. FedEx, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I knew that company. I believed in that company, and it was quite easy to sell. And I mean, everyone already knew it. They knew the product, so that was less stress. But I had to. I decided what was better for my family is to switch to Florida, not so much IBM. IBM was the ends to the means to get us to Florida.
Yeah.
So now we moved to Florida. My wife is happy, and the stress level was unbelievable. And now we have two young kids, and I wasn't enjoying anything. So again, I think things do happen for a reason. My stress level and my lack of enjoyment working for not so much IBM. It's not a knock on IBM. It's knock on my inability to learn the product as well as I should if I'm going to sell it. So that it was on me. It wasn't IBM was a great company. Um, but I think um, in going on interviews for other things, it's again, it would be selling stuff that am I going to learn this stuff too? Because it's not something easy. I have to learn something new and sell it to somebody, and sit in my car for 3 hours a day to do it. So, in
It's a lot of
terms
travel.
of oh, that's just traffic in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah, that was just
traveling from
commuting.
place to place.
Yeah, if I had to drive to Miami, oh my God, forget about it. So I think owning my own business, whether it was the bin doctor or something else, once you get past the hurdle of you have a good customer base, you provide a good product, good service, good rate, and you have a good reputation. So now my stress level is minimum. I mean, the only time I have stress is when we try to take a vacation because this is a hands-on job.
Yeah.
So last week we went away. We went to Cape Cod for a week, and I had a truck go down. I had this go down. So that's my stress is when I'm not here, and I can't
Yeah.
handle something when I'm not here. But in terms of family life, stress level, I'm at a point where I actually don't have any stress at all.
That's
I already
great to
lost
hear.
my hair, so I mean, it's already
It's
gone.
not not
There's
coming
nowhere to
back.
go. No. Did you say it's on my back? How'd you know?
I
It is on my
said,
back. It just migrated. It left my
yeah,
head
it
and it's on my
migrates
back.
everywhere else, in the ears, in the nose. Yeah, I
It's
get
just
it.
not on my head. But there's no more hair to lose. So for stress, I mean, I can't, I can't lose anymore. But um, in terms of and family life, I mean, I go to my every baseball game for my son. I every Girl Scout thing for my daughter. Her soccer games. I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Not one thing. So in terms of that and having your own business, and I think that is well worth it. Am I making $1 million? No, but I'm building an asset that will be worth several million when I'm done.
Yeah.
So that part's really good. Um, I do think the what was lacking at IBM is if I did something great, my manager got the credit for it. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yep.
corporate America to a T. But now, if I fail, it's my fault. If I succeed, it's on me. I succeeded because of me
Yep.
and with the support of my family. But it's all on me. I mean, you can't say that oh, someone else made you successful. No, no, no. They didn't knock on their doors. They didn't push this for how many years. So
Yeah.
no, it was on me. And there's a fulfillment. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, but when you succeed at something that you fully are responsible for, there is a gratification there that it's amazing.
If I was sitting having coffee with your wife and I asked her, how has Spiro changed in the years since becoming a business owner? What would she tell me?
Uh, that's a good question. Speak for my wife, huh? Um, I would definitely. She does appreciate that I don't miss anything for the kids. That I'm home. We have family dinner every night, not on weekends. So every night we have family dinner.
And that's
You know what I
new.
mean? Right. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't do that before. I was traveling half the
Yeah.
time. I'm home. I'm present. I do the dishes. That's huge.
That's a big benefit. I mean, you
Well,
don't clean
she's
the bins, but you'll do the dishes.
I don't know. It's a so my parents are from Greece, and it's an old Greek saying. Don't look at the shoemaker's shoes.
Yep.
Like if you're a shoemaker, you have probably the worst shoes in town
So don't
because
look
you
at your
never
bins.
picture. But I have a horrible bins. So I mean, I feel bad. I have employees. Am I going to come? They know where I live, right? So am I going to
Yep.
tell them, "Hey, can you clean my bins?" And they're like, "Your bins? No, man, I'm not cleaning your bins." But they know when it's me. They don't say that. It's me. Do I think they say that? I don't know. But yeah, we have terrible bins. But if I think she would say that she appreciates the fact that I'm home, the stress level is definitely gone, and we for a time period there before we started this and I was looking for stuff, we were paying more. There was a talk about stress. We are paying mortgage with some stock. So, you
Oh wow.
know, here comes mortgage time. I got to sell. Here's a little bit of Amazon. Here's I got rid of here's sold all of Disney. So all these stocks I'm selling to pay the mortgage. So now we don't have to do any of that, right?
Yep.
And now we're building an asset that is has value to it, and it continues to grow. So this is my retirement. I don't know if I get a Social Security out of owning a company. I have no idea, when it gets to the point where I'm ready and sell the company, that'll be a nice retirement.
Well, it's interesting. I think a lot of financial advisors would have told you not to cash out and take your pension at whatever the percent was that was going to create, and you've turned it into far more. I'm curious, Spiro. So you have a very inspiring story. As you think about what you've learned in this process, what's the most important piece of advice that you would give an aspiring business owner? Somebody thinking they're ready to make this leap.
Um, One, make sure you have you have to have capital to back you up. Um, and I had this 401k, so there was money to do the business. I just couldn't use that money to pay the mortgage, right?
Yep.
So there was money that you have to don't start any business unless you have enough capital to allow yourself the time to succeed. I can't guarantee you will succeed, but there's so many places here that open up and they're closed in like 5 months. Like, what were you thinking? Why would you close in 5 months? No one, you're not going to be successful in just that short a period of time. It takes time to get there. So have enough money and reserves to last. I, I'd say 2 years, but at least maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
But then also don't be afraid to do the work. You can't start a business and then expect somebody else is going to have as much passion as you do for it. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to make. You're going to have long hours. You're not going to have banker's hours for sure. You're going to have to get up earlier in the morning than everybody else. You're going to have to go out and sell, and then you're going to have to come back and do a lot of the grunt work too. And I mean, I used to have model hands, but no more. They're very rough, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, you have to do the work, and don't be afraid to fail because I'm not saying the company will fail, but if you're not failing at anything, it might means that you're not trying.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep going at it until you have little successes. Make some small goals for you. Hey, I signed up. I don't have this goal. I have to sign up 10 new customers a day. I'm like, if I sign up one new customer a day, that's actually not bad because it's not just one
Builds.
customer. It builds, and then you're going to talk to their neighbors, and you're going to just keep going and keep going. Um, I used to go into neighborhoods and do demos for free. Free ended a while ago. There's no free.
Yeah.
So everything now, I still get calls. What kind of discounts do you offer now? I'm like, actually, I was just thinking about raising my rates. Would you like to be the first? Oh no, okay, I'll keep the same rates for you then. There's your discount. So yeah, no more free, no more discounts. But we're established. We're the only game in town, and we have a trademark on our logo and our business, the name. So you can't have a bin doctor anywhere in the United States, as much as you might try. Um, but we are talking to some people about possibility of franchising.
Is there anything we haven't talked about from your story that you think would be really impactful for someone that wants to buy or start a business? Like maybe an example, you talked earlier about failure. Do you have a good example of failure in this business that you tried to start? Because we've really only talked about all the things that worked. And maybe someone's going to get the mistaken impression that all the things we try as entrepreneurs work out.
Yeah, there definitely has been some failures. So one of the successes that the guy I bought the trucks from, one of his successes has been with HOAs. So you talk to an HOA, a whole development, and you sell it to them, and then you do their whole
Yeah.
development. And I did try that, but I found that HOAs, the challenges are that they have to get, first of all, no one goes to HOA meetings. And then second, you have to have like 2/3 of approval for the whole HOA. And for this to happen, their HOA rates are going to increase.
Sounds
So
slow.
Oh my goodness, what a slow process. So I tried it for a while. I tried my own development. I have an HOA. I'm friends with the president of our HOA. It is such a slow process. So that didn't work out at all. And I tried several HOAs. It didn't work. So I kind of skipped a step. I like to skip. And I went to a whole city, and
Yeah.
then I don't have to worry about HOAs.
And have you translated that to any of the other people that have bought trucks and given them that insight, or is that something you've just
I
been?
have. In fact, they know that I'm the one of the original people to have a city contract, so they'll call me and say, "How did you do it?" and this and that. And there are several ways. I give them how we did it, but there are different ways to do it. So I do give them insight on that. There are failures. I've learned from other people's failures too. So we have a nice tight knit group where we all kind of know each other that do this industry. I know the guy in other cities, and one of the guys actually bought a truck before me for Fort Lauderdale, and and another one in Davie bought just after me. So you, we all kind of help each other. If I get a call from Fort Lauderdale, call them. They can take care of you, and vice versa. It goes both ways. So we're all friendly to each other, and we kind of stay out of each other's territories, but we help each other.
Yeah.
But one thing that you have to be careful of, and this could be for I don't know, it could go for other industries as well, is you kind of have to stay within your territory for a logistical purpose. Gas just went through the roof.
Yeah.
So you're not going to drive your truck that gets 4 miles per gallon. You're not going to go 25 minutes, do a bin for 10. And this is that's why he didn't come up from Florida,
Yeah. It's a money losing
from
problem.
Miami. So then you got 25 minutes for $10, then 25 minutes back. You just wasted all this gas, and you didn't gain anything from it. And you don't want the next customer. You don't want their neighbor anyway because it's
Yeah.
out of your area. So why would you waste your time out of your area? You need to stay condensed, stay within your wheelhouse. Um, there are people who spread themselves too thin, and they just want, oh, I'm new and I got to make this work, and I gotta make money wherever I can, but not staying true to their own policies. So the one guy in Davie, he just took anything he could get. He went to Weston, he went to Fort Lauderdale, he went to Pembroke, he went everywhere, and he couldn't keep up because he's way too spread too thin,
Yeah.
and then he failed, and he had to sell his truck.
The lesson that reinforces for me is this idea: if you only focus on the revenue and not on the full financial ability, because you're talking about all the different expenses, then you're going to miss it, because revenue is really vanity at the end of the day, right? And your cash is what's going to drive success or not. So I'm curious, Spiro, how did you think about that when you started the business? Did you build some type of projection or financial model? Have you since, like, how did you manage that from the start, and has it changed?
In our business model, we did have a set growth. We didn't achieve all the goals of our growth. It was a lot slower than anticipated. However, that might be because of uh, my instinct and my uh, insistence on keeping within our wheelhouse. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to go spread out and go get this customer just to make another buck. I wasn't going to do that. When we created the name The Bin Doctor, it was a really catchy logo. The name flowed. It really made sense. And
And it
uh,
sounds a lot like a 90s band. So
there you
that's
go.
all.
I did that too. Um, I had hair then. Um, so what's really important to me is not, like you said, it's not just the revenue, but it's also our reputation. If you spread yourself out thin, then you're not providing a good customer service and experience with us. So, by keeping within our wheelhouse, not spreading ourselves too thin, um, we stay within our territory. We take care of our customers. So this way, if I get a customer and says, "Hey, I know I'm not a customer. But we have an emergency. Any chance you could do this today?" So, I mean, I make it happen, right? So if we were spreading, if I was going from city to city to city, you can't do that. So now we just made a really good customer experience with with this person, and all our reviews. I don't think we have a four. They're all five, and and they all say the same thing. It's all the customer service is great. So our goal is to maintain that customer service. And the other thing that a lot of other companies do is they spread themselves out too thin, not just territorially, they are in service. Oh yeah, we could do your driveway. Oh, we could do. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You clean bins. I know, but we have a pressure washing gun. It's the same thing. So why can't we just do their driveway? Because they're a dime a dozen. All your pressure washers are a dime a dozen. So now you're going to pressure wash someone's driveway, and you're not going to go do someone's bin. So you're doing a driveway so you can make a quick, easy buck. And now you just kind of diluted your name brand. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
brand's very important, and I learned that at FedEx because I mean, brand's very. I think brand's very important. So I don't want to be known as the company that, yeah, I'll call them. They'll do that. I'm like, no, we are, this is our specialty. We will take care of you. We do call you back. I get a lot of complaints. Oh, you called me back. I'm like, why wouldn't I call you back? Because your business. Like, well, in Florida, no one calls you back. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm from Pittsburgh, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stay within your wheelhouse. Take care of your customers. Give the best service you can. We do get complaints. So if we get a complaint, it's not so much the complaint; it's how you deal with the complaint.
Yeah.
So if my guys make mistakes, if they miss someone's house, they did the wrong house. You know what I mean? Things happen. So we take care of it right as quickly as possible. Okay, then the feedback is, yeah, they might have made a mistake, but they made up for it. They took care of it. I'm happy. That didn't lower my five.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Totally.
So I believe and I think I learned that from the restaurant though. I
Yeah.
mean, you just give good service. That's it.
Well, that is the perfect example of a business that goes out of business real quick if they don't nail all the aspects of it, because that
And
business
they
has so
do.
many competitors.
This industry's tough. People go out of business, and you gotta have enough fortitude, capital to sustain and grow.
Yeah. Well, Spiro, I want to be respectful of your time, but I really appreciated and enjoyed the conversation that we've had
Yeah,
learning
me
about
too.
your business.
Yeah,
It's very exciting, and I wish nothing but great things for you.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to the Create the Life You Want podcast. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to future episodes by clicking the subscribe button, you know where. If you're an aspiring business owner, you may also want to subscribe to the Create the Life You Want newsletter for more inspiration and tips delivered to your inbox every week. You can find the link to that in the show notes, as well as on my personal website, jeremyames.com. If you've already decided you want to start or buy a business, consider exploring your financing options by heading to our sponsor's website at www.guidantfinancial.com. That's GUIDANT financial.com. See you in the next episode.